Hello, I'm Jacob Wolf, and welcome back to Time Trial. Over the summer, we had teams of creators make complete short films from conception to final cut, all within 48 hours. Each team had to include a prop and a line of dialogue in their film. This week's team incorporated their item heavily into their film, so let's introduce our guests. I have two members of the production team with us today. Do you mind introducing yourselves?
I'm Justice St. Clair, and for this production I worked as key grip.
And I'm Nicholas Svoboda. I worked as the director and partial writing. With us today, we don't have a few of our members. They were just busy or out of town. We have Maya Gelzer, who was the lead. We have Alieska Reamer, who was audio technician on set. We have Ben, who was also working with camera, as well as helping Justice grip. And then we have Lake Stahill, who was helping act.
I want to thank you two for being on the show with us today, and I want to thank the entire production team for creating the short film for us. Now that we've met the production team, let's see the short film that they created for us today.
Go.
For a quick game?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to play a quick game?
Today's not a great day. Maybe another time?
Good day as any.
Action.
Change your mind.
Just have nothing better to do.
Bad day? You can talk, you know.
I just haven't had great luck. And I don't see any way around it right now. I got stood up again, and I lost my job.
Wouldn't worry about this piece too much. It's not worth too much on its own. But if it makes it to the other side of the board, if you get to the other side of the board, you can become one of the best players.
Keep that away from me. Don't try to lecture me. You know nothing about me. Just because I sat down with you doesn't mean I want some sort of sage advice. You know nothing about me. I just wanted to play a game.
No sleep.
I want to thank the production team one more time for their submitting that short film to us, because 48-hour challenge, that's pretty rough. Like that's a shortened amount of time to create a film from conception to final cut. So I want to go over the 2 requirements that you guys had. You two, or the production team, had the required Ironman of a game piece. Just a single game piece, didn't have to be a chess piece. And there was the line, keep that thing away from me. So I want to talk about your creative process as you got your email with, the requirements on it, and kind of what went down from there. How did it go down?
So when we got the email, we all were in town, and we decided to approach the prompts as a team. So first we addressed the game piece, because that was the most vague part. We get a line of dialogue, and that has to be, glued and pasted in somewhere. But for the game piece, that's an item. But we also had to physically get the item, so what was available to us. And then what would make sense in connection to the line, because we decided that the 2 would be connected, and that would be towards the end of the story where the climax had been reached for the arc of the story. So just kind of like what we had available and what everyone decided would be the best for a production.
Yeah. How about you for the creation of this? How was that experience for you?
It was hard, it's frustrating. With being open as a team, there's a lot of room for people to butt heads.
Yeah.
And with it being such an open, ended thing we could do, deciding on the game piece, what direction we wanted to go with the film, if it was going to be serious or more lighthearted, deciding what path to walk down was the hardest part. And the majority of my experience, because I had to leave partway through the conception the process. And so.
Okay. So really interesting composition of film here. We've got this almost melancholy, depressed feel to your main lead, Maya was her name, right?
Maya. Yeah.
Maya. And she's playing this woman that seems to have this depression she's suffering from, or this sadness. And the way that you use the camera and her facial expressions really portray that. But what was your kind of inspiration for the shots that you took and the sequence of shots that made the short film?
So, I guess the easiest way to do it is just following the basic structure of how you're supposed to, and then kind of putting that on its head.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to start really, broad. You're supposed to show where it starts. And for that, we don't really do that, unfortunately, because whether or not it didn't come to our heads, or that we just simply had a vision already of what we wanted to do, we started really small. We started with the pencil tapping. And so that just came about because we wanted to have her start in an office environment, but we can't show any like signs or big logos, so we had to kind of, like I said, turn on its head and show the environment using a different method. So that just came about because of the limitations of what we were able to do.
Yeah, and the 48 hours really does constrict what you can do, because you mentioned the location scouting is really difficult in that short of time. So you're looking for an office that you can use that doesn't have big logos everywhere and doesn't and still fits your needs.
And luckily we Lake was already connected with the people who have that office, and so we were able to just go in and film there.
Yeah.
But you know, it is a constraining process, because in order to get better locations, we would have to have people sign waivers. We would have had to let them know before, and it's not really possible because we didn't really know what we were being handed at the time.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go out there, 6 months ago and be like,
exactly.
We're going to do a short film and we need the office space to shoot the couple of scenes with.
And at the same time, we don't want to have cheap locations, just like shoot the entire thing in the forest, shoot the entire thing in the park. We want to have a little bit of diversity to be able to tell a story that feels a little bit more real. So. Yeah.
And what for you, Justice, the creative element of creating this and implementing those pieces, how was that?
So I didn't necessarily have a huge part of the creation. Like, it was really interesting to observe how these limitations really forced us to get creative with what we had, and that was really cool to see. I really wish I could have stayed around for the entire process, but
So your role is more of I'm going to sit back and kind of watch this and help out where I can.
Yeah, I was there and it's like, what do you need me to do?
Yeah, basically, like my experience is like when we were first there at the conception, you were there in the beginning, but you had to go a little bit on, but you were throwing out ideas and like approaching ideas I had presented already and saying, what if we did this? What if we sculpted it this way?
Yeah.
And you and I worked together on multiple occasions, and we've always been like, all right, I have this idea. And then you say, all right, well, here's what I think the message is. Here is what the overarching idea is. So instead of being your head against the table, just like try to go over these few ideas here.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't your first short film that either of you have created, right?
No, we worked together.
This is the first time you've done one in a really condensed time frame. Like normally you have hundreds of hours to work on 1 or 2 minutes of edited film and really make it look pristine. So speaking of that, what were the biggest challenges that arose because of the time constraint, and how did you guys deal with those issues?
From my experience, the biggest challenges we had was just to work as a team. Like having the lack of roles, like the lack of structure, really made it hard to pick something and go, because we're always just like, all right, here's the point we're at. We want to go this way. We want to go this way. And
so there were multiple people that are like, I want to do this and this and this. And the hardest part was making one seamless script that kind of made everyone happy.
And it's really important to have that pecking order, because we're all friends. At the end of the day, we want to stay friends. It's not, we want to be as professional as possible, but at the same time, we have to step on each other's toes. Otherwise, if we don't have that pecking order, we're just going to make each other frustrated and endanger that friendship. So not necessarily being professionals, but having the ability to say, all right, this isn't what I'm good at. I'm going to let the people who are good at this take over.
Yeah, so making sure that people have assigned roles, because what I'm hearing is that everyone was kind of contributing to everything. And that leads to a lot of confusion, because then we have people that, are doing different shots for film and different things for audio, and there's not one cohesive person that's saying, this is my part of the film. This is what I contributed.
Luckily, that got, towards the end, it got sorted out. In the writing process, it was definitely easy to see. There was a lot of butting heads.
So much chaos.
On set, there was a lot of butting heads against how it should be portrayed through the acting and how exactly we should be doing this or that. But luckily enough, a lot of the shot composition was mainly me and Benji, just kind of like finding the right angle and working together to get the right shots, as well as having the actors, do their own craft. At that point, we had kind of figured out that we need to have some relative space. But the thing is, if there is no jobs, it's just going to get more chaotic, which we found is
Yeah.
in every stage it just kind of, sorry, my bad.
You're all good.
It seemed to kind of flare back up, and we had to deal with it.
So the people you have acting, you were in it for a short moment to hand
whole 3 seconds, yeah.
the pink slip over. But your actors, how was it dealing with them? Because we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that they had done theater acting, but they hadn't done the film acting before. So how was that? How was working with that?
So Maya is an actor I've never worked with before. I worked with Lake in a few films. But Maya, she's a theater actor. She's fresh out of high school, and she's amazing. There was a little difficulty in the beginning, just learning to do it with her face and just like, as with any actor, just getting the movements down and getting comfortable. And I think that was a big part of the difficulty. Is we have 48 hours to memorize an entire script and go over the script.
Yeah.
So just getting repetition after repetition, so we don't have to take a million shots.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a very different world film from acting on stage. Because acting on stage, you have your 2 hours, you have your moments to shine, and then with acting in a film, it's you have 30 seconds, and your face is right there in the camera, and everyone's going to see every little detail.
But Maya took it with so much grace, and she did amazing in the film. So I have no complaints with
the
her.
acting was incredible. Like it was really well done. You could see the facial expressions. You could see the pain when she lay down on the couch. You could just see that feeling of she is done with this, and she doesn't want to deal with anything else right now.
Yeah, you can relate to it.
Yeah, it's very relatable, very human. There's that contact that really draws you into the film and makes you want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to pop over to a break real quick. After the content, we'll be back and we'll talk more about the film and some of the issues that arose and the creative ways to fix it.
So I first heard about Oh Man through the radio program. My roommate was a DJ, and I hopped on his show a couple times. And that was infatuating, and I immediately fell in love with being able to play whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and coming in late at night and sharing my music with whoever was awake at that time was just so exciting and so liberating. Just the ability to explore and learn so many things from so many different mediums is really what benefited me and my experience here in media. Coming out of here, I definitely think I'm going to be looking at the world in a more professional lens. I definitely think that working as part of a team and making things for other people is something that I've definitely taken out of being here and being on the creative video team especially. My name is Ziad Al-Kaulak. I'm a creative video consultant, a senior studio engineer, and a professional conspirator here at Orange Media Network.
Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us. So I want to talk more about some of the challenges through the creation process. There were some obvious audio challenges that happened. We could hear some of the things like action, and there was some background noise. So what was going on with some of the editing or the audio? What were the challenges that arose?
So there was a few things that happened there. One of it being we had multiple editors, and then the other being our computer was not the greatest. But at that point, we were already, it was about midnight when that happened, so we didn't have the choice to come in and use the computers at OSU or use someone else's
We're talking
computers.
midnight on the second day, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
there's
second day.
countdown 10 hours left or less.
Less. I think it was about 5 hours left when.
Okay.
5 hours, and then that was already at like 2 a.m. because we got the prompt at like 7.
Okay.
So we had very little time left, and at that point there was nothing more either of our I or the other editor could do because our computer was either too slow or we were just so exhausted.
Well, and
by the
technological
process.
issues will always be a burden. They'll always be something we have to deal with.
Yeah. But a big part of that is the audio just wasn't like you would press play on the editor and the audio wouldn't play with the video.
Yeah.
There would be either no audio or it would be skipping or dropping out. So we just had to do what we could. We were using software that one of the editors wasn't familiar with.
Okay.
So we just had to do what we could with what we could.
So it was a mix of the computer wasn't working with you, so technological issues, and then someone that's still learning how to use software for what they needed to use it for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about that? Like,
I feel like it's a poor excuse.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bad excuse, but at the same time, it's just like something that if we don't fix it, we're going to have to figure out a different way how to deal with it. Just like everything else, like our organization and these technological issues, like we also had to go charge batteries in between shots. So it's just
always
figuring out ways where we can avoid this, organized ways where we can avoid this. So either coming into OSU, allotting that time, or figuring out who has the better computer.
Yeah, knowing your time management, because from what we were hearing is like your script took a while to come up with.
Yeah.
And then you have your filming and the lines, and you were looking for daylight.
Yeah.
And so you have this limited window of daytime. That out of the 48 hours, you have 24 that are day, and maybe you can film in like 16 of those because you don't film in direct daylight. Like it just blows everything out.
And I mean, we also had problems with that because we did film in direct daylight because we had no other choice.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts.
So there was a lot of masking out the overexposed or the bright areas. So we had a clear focus of who we were supposed to look at. And like I said, the software wasn't, or the computer wasn't up to that. So we had to do a lot of subpar jobs because of how rushed we were at the end.
Yeah. So throughout the story, we have this woman, Maya, who's portraying, that's going through this process of depression. And we know that she's feeling sad at the beginning of the film, and then she gets her pink slip from work, and then there's this chess game, this guy on the bench with a chess game. There's some missing things there that as I was watching, I was like, what's going on here? How did the story start? So what was your original idea in your head? Like, what wasn't shown that's in your head that we need?
I don't know if there was a definitive start point, like the break into Act 2. I don't know if there was one. I think the inciting incident was her meeting the dude on the bench, which is a weird inciting incident if you think about it. Because it's just like something that can happen. Like there's no reason for her to be sad besides her life sucks. So for me, I feel like that was never supposed to be explained. And again, a poor excuse, but with the amount of butting heads over the story, it was amazing to me that we even got this out.
Okay.
But it's just one of those things where it's like one of those kid books, Ivan's Worst Day or something like that. And just kind of like showing how someone can overcome that and, the symbolism with a pawn, you have to become something other than a pawn. So I guess the idea was that there was no real start point. Like the beginning and the end are at the same point. So
there's a really good portrayal of emotion in this. Just as how did that work for you? What was your creative process through helping this emotion be portrayed?
It was kind of like getting thrown into the fire because I wasn't there for the process of actually coming up with this script, and the ideas that were trying to be displayed, I wasn't completely clear on.
Yeah.
And so it was like, go do this thing, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. And so, my experience was just go along. Like,
So you're going through the motions,
going
trying
through the
to
motions,
make this happen.
trying to make it like make things easier because we're already pressed on time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah.
Nick, how did you go through this betrayal of emotion? Like, what was happening for you from a creative point of view?
It's hard to say because from the very get-go, I think everyone was already in a weird headspace with the thing. We've never done such a compact film together.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people to manage.
It is. 6 people
Yeah.
I think is the largest team we've had on so far. So that's a lot of people to try and coordinate in
Yeah,
48
yeah.
hours and make sure everyone has their job and is doing the specific thing.
And so I feel like everyone was very stressed and serious from the very get-go. So that caused a really weird situation for us to try and be creative with what we were given. It was
Yeah.
more like we had to create a product rather than an art piece.
Yeah.
So from there, I feel like we did our best. You know, we followed the structure we had always done, and we kind of got set back to our basics, which is something I feel like these 48-hour short film things really do give you. Like,
Absolutely. They're great for like pulling you back a little and like
yeah.
reevaluating how much time
Yeah.
we really have here and what can we actually do.
and it just shows you where you need to improve. Like, sure, you're good at shots, sure, you're good at composing the frame, but how good are you at telling a simple story?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
just like figuring out where you really need to put in the effort and what you can kind of sit back and rely on your natural abilities to do. So,
Yeah. So what was like the biggest challenge that either of you, both of you found through this process?
Oh, definitely had to be the organization. Like that was overcoming like who was going to do what and like not getting too big in the head, like having your ego step out, like
Yeah.
to pull back. Yeah, the biggest challenge, just finding a job and sticking with it and not taking someone else's spot.
Yeah.
Definitely I have to, we're harping on it, but organization is
Yeah.
probably the biggest thing. It's not, when you think film, you don't think organization.
No.
But that is
essential.
such a big part of it. You have to be organized. You have to have everything ready, set. So all you have to do is start one domino and the rest will follow.
Exactly. There has to be a clear
Otherwise-
structure of who's doing what.
Exactly.
And there wasn't that clear structure.
And you kind of have to be honest with yourself. Like, I love stories, I love film. I can't be both at the same time. I have to choose, all right, I'm good at doing, composing the shots. I'm good at setting the camera at the right angle. I can't write. I can't write for this short of,
Yeah.
I'm not this comfortable with this. I have to let someone else do
You
this.
need someone that's really good at writing that short story to write.
Exactly.
So, real quick, what is the biggest takeaway for you, Justin, that you're gonna take away from this 48-hour challenge?
I feel like I took away something really big is like being able to see what you need for your short film. Like being able to manage time and see the resources that you have and how you can use them to depict what you want to show. And time management. Yeah, it's a huge takeaway from this.
Yeah.
And yeah, finding creativity in the small spaces.
Nick?
I feel like the biggest takeaway is the difference between a group of people making a movie and a group of professionals making a movie.
Yeah.
Because, one will have fun making this film and maybe not the product will be the greatest. A professional knows exactly what to do to make the greatest product.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming this week. And that's all we have in tonight's episode. Tune in next week as we talk about another short film. Also check out more content by KBVR TV and check out our YouTube page. All the short films we posted there along episodes of Locals Live and Time Trial. Have a wonderful night and thank you for watching.